It's really, really important that there is a strong Conservative voice out there that is pro-European. We know we have many colleagues who we love intimately, but who have different views. It is absolutely important that the Conservative Party is not branded as universally Eurosceptic, because we have a strong, sometimes I think silent majority who have a strong belief in our position in Europe. It's also great to be in the Churchill room. Winston Churchill was the founding president of the European movement, not just of the European movement in the UK, but the European movement across Europe in 1947. So we come from a strong tradition of being pro-European, and we should be proud of that. Damien talks very much about the challenge that we have electorally. Well, I don't think that any of us can actually understand the scale of what this referendum truly means. Firstly, there are only two parties who absolutely have data that is true and going to deliver off the back of their particular party's proposition. One is the Lib Dems. I've never met a Lib Dem who doesn't want to be in Europe. And the other is UKIP. Every other party will have quite divergent views, despite the fact that the majority of parties will be coming out categorically, will be coming out officially pro. So we've got a challenge here, and I hope that you might also be able to help us with this challenge, because you might come from constituencies that are very Conservative. But we need to get Labour votes out in Banbury. We need to get Conservative votes in Newcastle Central. And this is not something that we're either used to or organised to do. And so it is going to have to be, in many ways, both our party and our passion as Conservatives to be pro-European, but we're also going to have to leave some of our party political baggage behind and engage with other people to ensure that in those very strong Conservative seats, we are encouraging, ensuring, and sending the message to people beyond our own party groupings. Because this is going to be a big challenge. And I think Damien is absolutely right about the polls. They're very, very tight. I hope very much that they will diverge. But I thought I would give you a little bit of my experience recently. And it shows what a challenge we have to overcome. So I've been going to UKIP rallies, and I've been standing up there making the case to stay in Europe with Patrick O'Flynn, Suzanne Evans. I've been on TV with Nigel. It's all been so much fun. I have almost come out of those UKIP rallies in one piece. But may I tell you, these people are passionate. So when we start to think about not just making the case, but getting out the vote, is going to be crucial. These guys are going to be there at 6:30 in the morning. There will be tea, buns, party, festivities. They will be there queuing up to vote. We will have a whole group of people who the polls might say that we're going to win. They will have gone and had their hair done. They will have gone and see their kids. They'll have forgotten the postal vote. I am very, very serious. I think that this is one of our very biggest tasks. And when the Conservative Party gets together, when the Conservative Party is galvanised, as Conservative Party members, not necessarily as the party as a whole, there is not one party who is better at getting out the vote, as we saw in May. So please, it is going to be exceptionally important for us to squeeze every vote out, and for us to be a little bit less partisan as well. But what I found on my extraordinary trips around different parts of the heartland of UKIP was that we have got to drop acronyms. We have got to stop talking in millions. We have to personalise our message. We have to talk to individuals as human beings. We also have to ensure that our messages are not London-centric. We talk about the financial services sector, and who pops up every time? It's somebody from the city. Did you know that Peterborough has the 4th largest financial services sector in the whole of the country? When Citibank started to talk about they need to stay, they want us to stay, did you know that they have just employed 700 people in Belfast? The press conference should have been in Belfast. We need to regionalise, we need to personalise, and we need to dig out every small company that we can find. Because fundamentally, in my view, and I'm sure other people will have different views on this, is actually Brexit is for the rich. Brexit is for the companies that can move anywhere. Brexit is for Nissan, which is, 50% owned by Renault. Hi, I'm half French. I don't often admit that, but, the French will be starting to say, well, this is not something that we want to. But it is not Nissan who we've got to worry about. It's the guy who makes the sandwiches for Nissan. It's the guy who makes the widget in Loughborough that ends up in a car in Birmingham. Because it is those SMEs, and I believe that we are all 7 degrees of separation from a European job. So if you only have 6 members of your family, you're safe. But the 7th member of that family will be connected to something that has a supply chain that exports, imports, or is dependent on our role in Europe. Yesterday, I was at Reigate Chamber of Commerce, and I walked past from the station to the town hall, Kimberly-Clark Headquarters European, AIG Centre of their Financial Services, one part of their financial services, European headquarters. And I go into this meeting and I lose because the connection is not being made of medium and small companies with those sorts of companies. So we need new stories, we need new messengers, and I know that what Damien is doing with Stronger In is absolutely crucial. They had a big launch last week of Women for Europe. We've got a big launch next week with Bill Oddie for Environmentalists for Europe. We're running a students campaign. We've got Creatives for Europe. And we've got a very important audience, and that is the Irish for Europe. They have a vote, they have an interest, and they are extremely motivated. But we need to understand these different narratives. So in the constituency I used to represent, we had some fishermen, and they were exceptionally Eurosceptic, all voting for Nigel, their great hero. However, you ask them, where do you sell your fish? 90% of their fish they sell in Boulogne Fish Market, at 15% more than they would sell in London. I said, listen, I might be an active MP, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to negotiate with the Boulogne fishermen. We do not understand it is not going to be those big tariff barriers that will come in. It will be much more non-tariff barriers. It will be marginalisation of those small businesses. And what about the steward on the Dover ferry? What about Eurotunnel? What about Northern Ireland? 80% of its trade is with Southern Ireland. And may I tell you, if you go to Belfast, they are exceptionally concerned about their economic future. So we have to be clear that decisions that are made at this referendum have implications. But Damien rightly says, let's look at the opportunity of Brexit. What does this really feel like? Well, I think they need a bit of a reality wake-up. One day, we are the victim of those dastardly Europeans. We are kicked around, we're told what to do, everybody gives us a totally ghastly time, and it's all the fault, of the French and the Germans. And the day that we come out, the day that we tell them where to go, we're suddenly the conqueror. We're suddenly this powerful country. We're going to be able to negotiate any deal that we want. We're going to be able to kick ass. We're going to be able to get special dispensation right across the board. Now, this is a deluded position to be in, and we have got to be absolutely clear. We've got to bottom that out, that actually we are neither victim, nor if we come out will we be conqueror. I have 3 little pictures of what Brexit could look like, and this is the conflict that exists out there. So you have Let's Be Norway, The Twilight Zone by John Redwood and Owen Paterson. This is where we pay almost as much as we pay today. We end up being marginalised on decision-making, and Norwegian companies actually have bought Swedish and Danish companies so that they can have influence over standards that impact their industry. Now, what craziness is that? Then we have The Brave New World by Douglas Carswell. Now, this is actually exciting, and to be frank, it has the Brexit option that has the most integrity, because what we are going to be is the Singapore of Europe. May I tell you, as a woman, if you want to have a baby, have it at work. If you want to protect those 2 weeks holiday, those 4 weeks holiday that we have, somebody, maybe even John Redwood, will go to the Treasury and say, my God, America, they only have 2 weeks holiday. In this brave new world where we've got to be competitive, we're going to have to standardize to absolutely the lowest social standards we can get to, because we are going to have to fight our corner, because it will be a fight. And then the other deluded position that that Brexit people have is that we're going to trade with the Commonwealth. I absolutely would love to trade with the Commonwealth, but did you know that Belgium has more trade with India than we do? They're in the EU, nothing seems to be holding them back. And Germany trades with countries that, may I say, I don't think the Foreign Office know how to spell. We are not inhibited by the EU. We are actually given a platform by the EU, and what we've got to do is sharpen up our act, is to get more aggressive when it comes to international trade and stop using the EU as an excuse for us not to be more ambitious on the international stage. But I also think it's important, as Damien and others have said, we've got to be also positive about what the future looks like. What a crazy moment for us to leave when we have, as Damien rightly says, the digital single market. That will benefit small companies right across the country. Whether you're selling small products in Wales, whether you're up in the Highlands, you are going to be able to access markets right across 440 million customers off digital platforms that will be standardized. That is too exciting for words. That is the new marketplace. The second is the services single market, which, when we talk about the balance between between our trade deficit with Europe and vice versa, it is on manufactured goods. We start to get the services single market, and the trade deficit will be totally the opposite way. It will be very exciting. And if we achieve the US-UK trade deal, where will those American companies come and locate if they want to access the European market? Off the back of TTIP, this is the country that is going to achieve, and in many ways capture, 70 to 80% of that investment. And at this moment, we want to walk away? I think we've got to see. We've got to look at these opportunities and say that actually Europe is moving in our direction with advantages for the United Kingdom, and we have actually started, very much with the leadership of David Cameron, shaping some of the agenda. So I am both positive about our campaign. I am absolutely passionate about making the case, particularly out of London, in all sorts of parts of the country, that we need to stay in Europe. But I am absolutely, know that we have got a very, very high mountain to climb, because we have got to convince in every nook and cranny of this country. And in many ways, it's people like yourself who can take that message, who can mobilize people. The European movement is in many ways, not even a cross-party organization. It is a non-party organization that is in many parts of the United Kingdom. We will work with Stronger In, we will work with you, we will work with all parties to ensure that we have got a clear message that says Europe is our opportunity. Europe is a place where we can prosper. Europe is a place where we can be stronger. And by leaving Europe, we are negating our history. We're negating, in many ways, the power that we require over our neighborhood. The idea that we would contract out control and influence about our neighborhood to other people sounds an extraordinary thing for either a British person to propose, never mind a Conservative. Thank you.